Joe came in there with way too much weight on his thighs and calves, midsection. Move to your left, move to your left. But the way he plodded to his left at 20 stone was like horrible to watch for the guy. It was horrible to watch. What's the point of moving to your left if you don't have the foot speed? You're still getting caught backing up onto the ropes, moving towards your left. See, this is why Joe shouldn't have took the fight. He's low IQ. That doesn't mean he's a bad fighter. It doesn't. He's still a world-class fighter.
At least him once was.
Way better than Daniel Dubois. But he's low IQ. And it's twofold. Joe cannot make adjustments during a fight, and it will take him longer to process what needs to be done for a rematch of this magnitude than a high IQ fighter. There were people in the media who get paid to cover sport. They had me baffled when they said, "Oh, Joe looked a little light." What did that mean exactly?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was surprised, Joe, on the evening. What I was most surprised about, and I know you've addressed it, and myself and Spencer have been talking about it repeatedly, about the weight issue, because every time I've seen you come into a ring, whether it's against Daniel Dubois in person or whether it comes against Carlos Takam or whoever else, and certainly against Joe Parker, you've been this huge figure of a man. And when I saw you come in against Zhang, I noticed a difference in you. What was the thinking, Joe, behind coming in at a weight that was almost a stone and a quarter lighter than when you put on really, really impressive performances against Joseph Parker?
And then to come in 25 pounds heavier in the rematch and then box on the outside didn't make sense. I think he wanted to get close up on Zhang in both fights, but he was either intimidated on really pushing himself into the eye of the storm, or he just didn't know how. Zhang, he came in even heavier than Joe, and he still looked quicker than Joe. On his feet, with his hands. Trust me, Zhang does not have quick feet. So while he's soaking up all his praise, Zhang, yeah, he's this, he's that, he's brilliant. He fought Joyce. Joyce had certain limitations that wasn't able to exploit Zhang's defects, his gas tank, his slow feet. Could that be part of the reason why Zhang is calling out Fury and not Usyk? Just a few months ago, you were hearing all these media experts saying how Joyce has taken over AJ as the second best heavyweight in the country. Joyce is a threat to Fury and Usyk, etc., etc. And now, them same people have probably crossed over to Zhang and started to sing his praises. Now he's the next heir apparent. When in all truth, we're just not getting enough matchups. Champions and challengers fighting each other. We're just not getting enough. It's just not happening enough. I've got picks wrong. I picked Joyce to win the first fight, but after watching the first fight live, what would make me pick Joyce in a rematch? If you're going to pick Joyce and the fight was taking place late next year, after you see Joyce have a couple of comeback fights and a couple of adjustments have been made, I can get with that more. You know, a couple of adjustments have been made, and let's say there's been a bit of a decline in Zhang. I can understand that. But 5 months after the event, you would pick Joyce to beat Zhang? And if you picked out patriotism and fuckery like that, just make yourself look stupid, innit? Physically, Joyce didn't look bad, but he couldn't carry the 20 pound where it didn't affect his speed. He couldn't do that. And within 2 minutes, Zhang landed one of them lefts straight down the pipe. Joyce fought Zhang at a range where he should have been throwing hard power punches, but we got these pushy type blows. The same type of punches he'd been throwing his whole career, but he's been getting away with it, you know. Joyce makes Zhang look fast because Joyce can't read the fight on the same level as Zhang. Zhang is reading his shots. When Joyce makes all these idiocentric hand movements, Zhang would just look for the gap, bang, drop your hands, bang. Okay, Joyce moves to his left. Zhang throws a left hand to the body, which in itself wasn't a dangerous weapon, but it stopped Joyce from setting up. It gave him something to think about. It was also a decoy to set up Zhang's own straight left and right hook to the head. Zhang just kept walking him down, reading his punches, timing him, while Joyce just looked so telegraphed in there. And that wasn't helped by the extra bulk. He looked so telegraphed and slow. It's also a confidence thing You know, confidence, relaxation. Zhang is able to throw 4-punch combinations, and somebody summed it up on a hangout yesterday. Zhang knows who he is. He knows who he is. He knows his limitations, and he certainly knows his strengths. He knows which opponents he's going to look good against and who's going to give him issues. And if he had the option, he would fight Joyce at every opportunity until he got bored of beating him. The finishing punch, southpaw Zhang moving to his left. He throws a left hand when it's not the obvious shot to throw. He's a southpaw. Why isn't he leading with his right? He threw that straight left towards the right hand side of Joyce's torso high up. Joyce is occupied trying to smother that out, and his left hand side is totally exposed, his left hand dangling down by near his thigh. Zhang throws that right hook and it's all over. Doesn't take much of a punch once the setup is executed perfectly like that. That's why Zhang doesn't have to use these big swings to get at Joyce, because he knows how to set him up. Joyce didn't see the punch and he went down. You know, people are talking about the iron chin myth being smashed. There was never no iron chin myth. No fighter has an iron chin, so...
Stop the cap.
Joyce's shot. He had a great chin, but now he's got no punch resistance at all. And that was not because of the knockout. In the second round, he got wobbled twice with jabs. So his chin is gone. Punch resistance is totally gone. So he's shot. I don't think he should be fighting anymore.
And Zhang knows how to set up them type of shots against limited opposition. You know, even though I thought Zhang beat HRGOVIC, when HRGOVIC went down from what looked like a forearm, he realized that this guy's got heavy hands. I saw HRGOVIC moving like I've never seen him move in the pros, which showed some adjustment. Joyce, what was his game plan in either fight? Where were the contingencies? Where were the adjustments? Joyce, he said he's not going to retire, saying after that he felt he had more in the tank after being knocked out like that. Could be a bit of bravado.
You know, he's a difficult fighter, and maybe it was, you know, it's just a risk too far. Well, maybe I could have gone another route, but I decided to take the challenge and paid the price.
That was a telling statement, because in hindsight you can hear he has regrets. He's saying maybe he should have taken a different route. Is he talking about the first fight or taking a rematch? Well, I guess it could apply to both, first fight and a rematch. Because the first fight, okay, there's a lot of traffic before his Mando is called up, but he's in the Mando position, taking on this difficult fight, something that Frank Warren would never have Daniel Dubois doing. And then the rematch. And he's got regrets now. He's reflecting, thinking, well, what happened? 1 minute, he had the likes of Teddy Atlas, TalkSport, the media and fans saying he's probably the toughest challenger for Fury and Usyk. Now they're talking about him fighting Daniel Dubois again. That's regression. That's mismanagement. That's what that is.
Got plenty more in the tank, so should see me again.
So that's suggesting he's not going to retire. Well, Frank Warren hopes his crestfallen heavyweight charge, Joyce, will give retirement a hard look. Now, Warren said he believes Joyce can make another run at a comeback to title contention. At the same time, he hopes the 38-year-old will think seriously about hanging up the gloves. Fighters lose and come back, Warren said. I've seen that on many occasions. But he's 38. Warren said he hasn't got a lot of miles on the clock as far as being a pro boxer is concerned. This was his 16th or 17th fight. And then Frank said it's up to him, we'll see. But he said he seriously needs to consider it, because it's not going to be an easy journey back. There are some good fights out there, but none of the fights are easy. I mean, Frank is talking about he was pleased with Joyce's performance in the first 2 rounds. Didn't he see him get tagged in the first round, hurt in the second, and knocked out in the third? Frank's saying he was able to neutralize Zhang's offense. The way Frank's talking is like Joyce was in control and Zhang managed to turn the fight around in the third round, and that's not what happened. He was negating the southpaw style of Zhang. No, he wasn't.
Stop the cap.
Now, this is why Joyce took the rematch, because there's been a lot of people like Frank Warren not telling the truth on what is the reality of his fights with Zhang. Let's go back to the first fight. You had a bunch of people on TalkSport really debating hard about how a rematch would go, when they're supposed to be boxing experts, and you saw the first fight. What is the big discussion, really? There was only one way Joyce could win, and that was to try and outlast Zhang. Somehow take all of Zhang's punches and outlast him. It didn't work first time, and it sure didn't work today. And this is why he took the rematch. Joe had people around him deluding him. Yeah, you done well in the first fight, Joe. Just put on 25 pounds and it will make all the difference.
What the things I've been done? What the things I've been done?
Like, with Spence trying to rematch Crawford, well, he's trying to get 4 belts back. There's no belts on the line here. It's just pride, perhaps, which is not always the right reason to take a fight. Joyce, he wanted instant get back, but the damage was done when they gambled their mandatory position in the first place with Zhang. And after the damage was done, they should have surveyed the damage and said, well, are we going to put him in again and risk a really difficult rebuild if Joyce loses again? And that's exactly where they are now. Terribly mismanaged. Now, his own promoter is hinting he should retire. Steve Bunce is hinting he should retire. And no, a comeback won't be easy. He's never been box office. The purses certainly ain't going to be good in the first few comeback fights. And at 38, how much ambition is really there? I don't see there's much more he can learn about boxing at this stage. Zhang, at age 40, he's been to America, he's fought there. He was the only one who stepped up for the eliminator against HRGOVIC in Saudi Arabia for short money. Most people, well, not most, a lot of people think he won the fight. 2 victories in Britain against Joyce. Now he's the Mando, the WBO Mando. He's been calling out Fury. He said he would fight Usyk and he'd beat him because he's a cruiserweight, but he's mainly calling out Fury, perhaps because it's the bigger fight, but also he doesn't have to deal with Usyk's foot speed, which a lot of us are assessing is Zhang's kryptonite. Now, a lot of contenders want to get at Zhang all of a sudden, but he's worked for his position, and look, I'm not telling him to sit on his victory, but he has to be mindful that he doesn't repeat what Joe Joyce did and blow his mandatory shot. He isn't talking about fighting no other contenders. And I can't blame Zhang for that at all, even though a lot of people are going to be calling out for him to fight this guy, that guy, this guy. Because HRGOVIC is next up for Usyk. HRGOVIC is next up. The WBC, they don't have a mandatory for Fury. Everyone's assuming he wins the Ngannou fight. Will he fight Usyk next? Let's say he does. I doubt he will, but let's say he does. What does Zhang do next? I mean, the Anthony Joshua fight is huge. A Deontay Wilder fight is huge. If he's not going to fight for the title, make sure you fight the biggest and the best. And that's what Joyce didn't do. He relinquished his mandatory spot to fight someone who was respected after the HRGOVIC fight, but he was just scratching around for big fights at the time, Zhang. They literally ran out of opponents to face HRGOVIC for that eliminator. Zhang was about 7th or 8th pick. He wasn't taken serious. Let's see what Zhang's next move is. Totally changed the landscape in Britain, you know what I mean? Like Frank's 2 biggest heavyweights outside Fury with Daniel Dubois and Joyce. They both went down heavily this year. Zach Parker, I'm not going to cover his bout. Anthony Yard, I'm not going to cover that bout either. Conor Benn, 17 months out of the ring, I believe it is. Yo, this guy was in a war. He was in a little bit of a war. He was never in danger of losing the fight or anything like that. But his opponent, who was a lot bigger than him, really came there to win for a whole load of shots. And he tagged Conor a few times. Obviously, the layoff played a part, but light middle is a tough ask for Conor. And if the Eubank fight is 160, that's a tough ask as well. But Conor's insistent that he's going to fight Eubank at 160, no catch weight. He'll be sharper for the Eubank fight. And Eubank tweeted, "You're in deep shit watching Conor fight. You're in deep shit." And look, Eubank is a huge favourite in that fight. He's bigger, he's more experienced. But if Eubank gets overconfident and thinks he can stay in the pocket with Conor, might not be a good idea. Because the Mexican who Conor fought got his jaw spun by combinations and just kept fighting. Took some big shots and kept coming back. I don't think Eubank can take them shots flush on the jaw. I don't. I'm not saying he can't take Conor's punch, but not flush like that. He has to be riding away to minimize the impact. And Conor is very dangerous with them short punches. Yeah, a lot of people are saying Chris is going to win the fight, but do they realize he can't just take liberties with Conor Benn? He can't just take liberties. Conor ideally needs one more fight, but Eddie and Sauerland want to make the fight. They want to make the fight. And Eubank probably doesn't want Conor to have another fight. And Conor's saying sign the contract, and so's his dad. Huge fight nonetheless. Huge fight. Probably not the result they wanted for Conor. They probably wanted a stoppage, dramatic stoppage or knockout. But He needed the rounds. Ammo Williams, too aggressive for Steve Rolls. He won well, but he holds his feet too long and he's getting caught with silly shots. And unless he has this granite chin, you could see him hitting the canvas soon. You could see it. He fought Steve Rolls, who somehow thought he won the fight. Like, really? Good test though. Good test. Went the distance. But is Ammo looking for one big punch?
A little too much.
Sandy Ryan versus Jessica McCaskill. I didn't score it. I did watch it. I did like Sandy's body punching. I thought Jessica's unorthodox looping, arcing punches would give Sandy more issues than they did. Sandy looked like she controlled the range pretty well, but she fell in with some of her shots, which allowed Jessica to spoil and make it a little messy, which favoured her on the inside. It looked like Sandy won the fight. They scored it a draw, and you can hear Sandy Ryan, the toll it took on her after when she made that speech.
I don't know what to say, but I feel like I need to come on here and do a video. The biggest fight of my life, and I nearly changed my life tonight, but we can get the rematch. Hopefully Jess's team have agreed. Eddie's up for it. Everyone wants to see the rematch.
Most people had Sandy winning. The right thing to do is run it back. Richardson Hitchins. He shut Jose Zepeda out. I think he lost one round on the free scorecards. With his size, reach, and the speed of his jab, it's hard to get to him at 140. And unless someone knocks him out, it's going to be difficult to outpoint this kid. Zepeda, he couldn't work out how to get inside the long arms. And he didn't even try to throw a lot of punches. Because in my opinion, he knew he'd get countered. And at the same time, Richardson seemed too content to stay in first gear. And I can't blame him for that, because he washed the guy. And I actually don't think he should change his style much to try and win over fans. He's got a very nice arsenal of punches. And he was walking his man down. But that was boxing. That wasn't ultra negative or anything like that. No, he's not Mike Tyson. He's not Conor Benn. He's Richardson Hitchins. He needs opponents. He needs to fight the top guys, and then we'll see why he's such a good fighter. He's not going to look impressive mowing people down in 2 or 3 rounds. That's not going to happen.
The text technique, cause he's a technician.
But yo, there's a stable of 140 pounders there. Can't Eddie get Jack Catterall, Dalton Smith, Liam Paro? Don't none of them guys want to fight Richardson? Sandor Martin? Well, look, he's ranked number 4 by the WBO, number 7 by the IBF. So there's only so long he will be able to get ignored. If nobody voluntarily wants to step in there, well, the sanctioning bodies will have to do their job eventually. It is what it is.